Welcome to Real Coaching Radio, the podcast for coaches by coaches. We are here to teach you how to get the most out of your clients and yourself. This is where beauty meets the beast, brains meet brawn, and science meets, well, bro science. Welcome to Real Coaching Radio. Welcome, beautiful people. Today's episode of the podcast, me and Mark, well, we talk about a topic which has really been bugging us lately, and it's the fact that people make a lot of excuses for things, and making excuses for why you can't train hard is exactly the reason why you're not going to get anywhere. So I'm just going to let you carry on and listen to this episode. You may enjoy it. You may hate us afterward. Please let us know. But without any further ado, let's begin the episode. Mark. Today's podcast episode.
I think this is going to be a good one.
Why did this come to your mind, first of all? Is it just Instagram? Because you see
I think so. And I think all it's done is over time, it's built up and built up and built up. And my tolerance level for it now is non-existent.
Yeah. So today's kind of podcast episode is we're going to talk about a lot of the things that have come into the fitness industry over the past couple of years. And basically how people in the past used to get strong without the aids of like CBD, massage guns, nasal breathing,
mouth guards,
and all these things that you probably do see people using today. Can I just say, like, mouth guards, right?
Yeah.
Brian Shaw lifts with one, right?
Yeah, all right. So I think, I don't know what the actual technical name is, but say what you were going to say.
So, Brian Shaw lifts with one, and I mean, so I used to wear one when I played rugby, right? I get things like that, like contact sport. I bit through my lip when I didn't wear one, so like I really understand it for contact sports, boxing, things like that. And Brian Shaw, I guess, like, unless he's really hard biting down, like, is that what it's for?
Well, so I'm not sure it's actually called a mouth. What I was talking about when I sent you that message was I'm not sure if it's actually called a mouth guard, like, because I saw it on Instagram and I just like paid zero attention to it. But basically, so a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6, a few years ago, when I went to the dentist once, and the dentist asked me about training. And he said, do you wear like a mouth guard or anything when you train? And I said, no. And he said, you might want to consider it, because I had started to, at the top of some of my teeth near my gum, they'd started to chip away.
Okay.
And it's because how hard I was biting down. So I think wearing a mouth guard for if you're lifting really heavy and that kind of stuff is fairly legitimate. So like Brian Shaw as an example. But what has now come out is that there's this mouth guard that you can wear that improves the oxygen flow through your airways.
What?
Like, and I don't know. I'm at this point that where over the last like months and years, whatever, through Instagram, like all I'm seeing is like just something to aid training that's like not, I don't know, here's a belt and here's some lifting straps. It's all these like really high level technical stuff, and then like I speak to people, and it's just like, oh yeah, I could have got a 1RM today, but you know, I didn't have my mouth guard. What, and that stopped you from getting a 1RM, did it? Did you bring your bollocks? But you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess all of these things are obviously aids, right? And I guess, I mean, for me, the problem with stuff like this is, and I suppose it just appeals to the psychology of people, the fact that everyone thinks they're an exception to the rule, in the sense that everyone thinks that the reason that they can't lift the amount of weight that Brian Shaw lifts is because they don't have a mouth guard.
Brian Shaw's got his mouth guard. And it's not just a mouth guard, it's a specific brand of mouth guard.
It's not the fact that Brian Shaw's like 6'8" and like weighs more than my car.
And has trained like an animal for a long time. I don't know. I think we're in this, and I had a brief conversation with this with Riker at the weekend. And I think we're going into this like world where it's kind of, we've just got excuses for everything. Just like, I didn't hit that lift today because I didn't massage my glute for 48 seconds with my Theragun before I'd hit my set. So, I was a little bit out of position. Well, is that why you didn't hit the lift? Or did you not hit the lift because like you bottled it?
I mean, this is going off of that. When we do, you got movement screenings, right? And when
you just asked me if I know what a movement screening is.
No. I know you know.
Okay.
There's movement screenings.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I'm not asking you, but there's movement screenings.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do these exercises a specific way to be able to pass that test, right?
Yep.
And if you're out of line or if you're like unstable or unbalanced, then you'll fail the test. And I just really think that people, when you've got 100 kg on your back, when you've got 200 kg on your back, that weight moves an inch and it kind of throws you out of line and things like that.
Yeah.
So I really do. I in my mind, when it comes to people saying, like just copping out on lifts for reasons like that, it winds me up because I'm like, you need to be able to, like, what are you going to do in a situation where you are in a lift and because you don't have your lifters with you today, you've got to lift in a different format. I mean, like at the moment, I'm training high bar squat quite often, but like my last phase, I was doing high bar one day and low bar another day. And I was training, it's almost basically two different squat patterns, right? For someone who just walks in and sees it, it's a squat. But like for me, like I'm trying to train things completely differently.
Yep.
And I don't like cop-outs for a reason of like going to the gym and going, I don't have my shoes with me today. I can't train. I don't have my mouth guard with me. I can't. And I'm just like, no, mate, like you need to be able to adapt to whatever you're going to do. Don't get me wrong. Like if you're going to compete in a competition, like Ellie, for example, our weightlifter, she's probably got the most ankle mobility I've ever seen, but she wears lifters when she lifts. And that's because like she wants to get the best out of it. But like you've got to be really far along this journey. And these are the things that matter when you're really far along this journey, I guess.
Yeah, but this is, you're exactly right. And this is exactly it, isn't it? And we've had this conversation, I think, on one of another podcast around, like, this is what happens. I don't want to go into this too much detail. I want to come back to what we're talking about. But this happens a lot with like nutrition.
Yeah.
When people start talking to you about nutrition, it's kind of like, oh, well, what time should I eat this? Like, what supplements should I be taking? Just like, well, at the moment, we probably need to stop you from eating 16 McDonald's a week.
Stop eating like a child.
Before we look at when you start taking this supplement. And it's the same kind of, I don't know, you go back to like ancient Greece. And it was considered a bit of a disgrace if you went through your life and never really found out what the physical possibilities are of your body, especially like as a male.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I know like times change. I know the world is very different right now. I understand that. But I just think nowadays we've developed this society where it's like, oh, I missed the gym on Monday because like I forgot my mouth guard. I went to the gym on Tuesday, but I didn't squat. I just did like some yoga because I forgot my Theragun, so I couldn't warm up properly for my squat. I didn't go to the gym on Wednesday because I didn't have the right trainers with me. And it
listen up, snowflakes.
Just go to the fucking gym, man.
The society at the moment is a really weird one. Like the world, it is a weird place at the moment. Really, it's halfway between being extremely soft and being like, I guess being not even empathetic. Just you're just people are way too compassionate. Do you know what I mean? Like, not
Yeah.
way too compassionate, but like having a level of empathy is good, and like being compassionate to other people is obviously like it's what we should be doing. But I feel like there is this state of the world at the moment, and I spoke about this with Riker as well, talking about like people use things as a cop out way too much. People like hear the word depression and think because they've been upset for a day that they've got depression.
Yeah, man.
And I'm just kind of like, and this is something that like I didn't want to go down this route, but like going through like myself going through kind of mental health struggles, and I mean like proper mental health struggles, like not just a case of going, oh, I'm having a tough week, like I got mental health issues. Like no, going through the case of like, actually there was a couple of times in my life where I've tried to take my own life, and then you get people saying, oh, I've had a bad week, like I'm so depressed this week. And like when I was in that state, I was like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm there like with this opposite mentality of like, that's not me, I got to try and get out of this. Whereas people just, whatever excuse you can fucking come up with nowadays.
Yeah, people have come up with it, man.
I don't, and like it's not I have this conversation with everything you learn from your parents. And like my partner, like Jess's mum, like we've got a running joke in the family that she always makes excuses. And one of the hardest challenges for Jess is because her first reaction to anything is to go defensive and make an excuse. And then after a while she's thought about it, she comes around, she obviously doesn't do that. And like, but she's actually got the ability to think to do that. A lot of people don't even know, or don't even think that they are making excuses. They're just like, it's not an excuse, like it's the situation. And it's like,
yeah. I mean, like training, like for me, like training's there to make you stronger, make you more robust, make you more resilient. And I just don't know if there's certain things coming into the industry that are kind of almost taking you the opposite way. Like, you know, everyone, don't know,
100%.
I don't really know how to. So, like, you know, just yesterday was really hard. Going to take it really easy today. Just like, well, you do that, but you ain't going to get anywhere. Like,
there's this. I think, and I fell into this trap when I come into it because, like, so like one of the books I'm reading at the moment is about triathlons, and it's an 80-20 rule, right? And it talks about like 80% of the time you basically spend in a low intensity zone, and then 20% of the time you spend doing moderate and high intensity work. Like, and that really works well for triathlons. That really works well, but you still need to have the discipline to kind of actually play that out. So the whole idea of the training is you train easier, but doesn't mean the process is easy. And I think like people seem to misunderstand like why they aren't making progress isn't because of like a lot of the time, probably the majority of the time, it's because of hard work.
Yeah, mate, I would put good money on that if you are not achieving your results, you're just not working hard enough.
You have to hold your hand up.
Yeah.
Like I've had to recently, and like what's happened? Oh, my bench is flying because I'm actually trying to put effort into it.
Yeah. Like I've fallen into this trap before. It's kind of like, I think I did a post about this maybe a few months ago now, but it's kind of like we've got all these training systems now, like all these like pauses, eccentric reps, like, you know, oh, they're great because you don't have to go as heavy, blah, 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 blah. We can do all this sort of stuff. There's all this like training gear that we can use. Like people turn up with a bag of goodies, like, you know. And,
what is that about?
Like a suitcase behind them. Like, oh, I just here to do biceps, got my suitcase. Like, you know, I remember like when I was probably at one of my fittest states in my life so far, like I had very little knowledge around training. I was young, but all I used to do was I just used to go to the gym and I just used to have it.
Knowledge is dangerous, man. I think this is one of the real sticky situations that I found myself in, is that you have all of this knowledge behind you and you want to stick and follow the science, but fuck me, like if you don't pair that with hard work, like it's really hard to get anywhere. And I guess if I'm talking to two different people here, so I'm talking to someone who is just wanting to get into the gym. If you've kind of just started going and you're a beginner, and I mean like not even doing this for a year, like you could be someone who can only go 2 days a week and only wants to go 2 days a week, which is fine. But I understand there's like there is only a certain amount of results you can get. And like, you can get results if you do big bang for your buck exercises, if you're really consistent on those times that you do train, like you manage all your stresses and in your nutrition and your water, all around that. Like, you could probably get a lot of results from 2 days a week, especially if you've never trained before. But like, if you're someone who kind of can train 4 days a week, but you decide, oh, I can only train 2 days, like, because you've got like because you've pulled your like calf going on a run, or like you cricked your neck doing pull-ups and things like that. And I just kind of like, I get that these things happen. Like, I went for a massive meal last night. I feel really sluggish today, and I've still got to look at my logbook and do more than I did last week, which is fine. It is what it is. You just do it. And I think trying to get someone along this journey as a coach is the hardest point, right? Because you get someone comes in who is a beginner, who literally, like, where it gets hard, they're gone.
Yep. 100%.
And having to try and bring them along, and it is really difficult. It's almost, I don't know how you do it for someone who isn't even aware, because I feel like that's the hardest bit, when people aren't even aware that there's a problem, that they just are afraid of hard work.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like flicking back to nutrition a little bit. I've had so many conversations with people just like, oh, I'm really struggling to lose weight. Like, really, I find it really difficult. Like, I really need your help. Like, fine, let's have a conversation, blah, blah, blah. Just like, I'm happy to diet, but like, I don't want to be hungry. Well, you're not going to lose weight then, are you?
I got a meeting with a client tomorrow who joined with me in nutrition. When she joined me, she was like, I just need to be told what to eat. So like, if you do that, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, so this person's one of these people that are on or off the wagon. So I was like, we'll get her on the wagon, and then over the course of the next couple of months, I'll try and get her to a place which I call coasting, where you can just coast along, kind of learn to not intuitively eat, but still make conscious decisions on the foods you are making, and like get her towards this goal. And like, her goal is she got to lose weight for a wedding. So like, it's a pretty big goal.
That's a big thing. That's going to mean something. Isn't it?
Going to mean something. But like, a month down the line, she's like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I got a meeting with her on Wednesday, and it's like, okay, so what do we do for you? And like, don't get me wrong, the fitness industry as a whole, like, I say it's getting soft. I think break the fitness industry in half, right? Break it in half of people that, but even then it's really difficult, because I was going to say, like, break it in half of people who could do stuff and don't, because there are those people out there, like, but then I was going to break it into beginners, but beginners, this woman is a beginner, and you do have to bring her along in this journey. But there are people who have been in this game 4 or 5 years and wonder why they haven't got results. Well, they're pretty much in the same mental space that she's at, just 4 or 5 years down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it is getting a bit softer. And, so take like another piece of technology that people can get, like there's these Whoop straps. Now, I've actually, when they first came out, I actually used one for probably about 4 days and then had enough of it. And
it counts your reps now.
It
counts your reps now.
Yeah. Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Counts your reps, just in case that
you forget.
You can't take your shoes off and your sock and count with your toes.
That's good. But I remember, I'm not saying, don't use data. I'm not saying that at all, because I wear a heart rate monitor when I go running. I track my heart rate and I log distance and that kind of stuff. So I look at data and I use data. I'm not saying don't use it, but like, this Whoop thing tells you like your recovery status. You can look at it the next day, just be like, oh, I'm only 58% recovered. Probably going to deload today. It's just like.
So this highlights the problem of auto-regulation.
Yeah.
For people without balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, just get on with it, man.
But how do you go about, right? Here we go then. So how do you go about communicating to someone? Like, people get really married to things, right? People are way married to their nutrition more than they are to their training, but even people are married to their own training. Like I've said, like, I got a number of clients who won't do anything other than a body part split.
Yeah.
And they're just married to this way of training.
Yep.
How do you get someone who is married to the way of making excuses to not do that. Do you know what I mean?
I think sometimes, obviously, you got to build a bit of a relationship with this person. But then I think, some people just need a bit of tough love. And I think nowadays, we're a little bit scared of giving a bit of tough love. Like if you remember, do you remember, well, I'm older than you, but I remember being at school and doing PE, and the sports teacher, you just get battered. Just run faster, run further. Whereas now, you relate that into a coaching environment, just oh, I ate all this cake yesterday. It's oh, it's okay. Well,
Yeah.
It's not really okay, is it?
If you've got
it
these
is
goals.
fine for you to do that. If you want to do that, but have an understanding that you doing that isn't helping you work towards what it is that you're wanting to try and achieve.
Yeah.
Rather than just be oh, it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
A little pat on the back.
You have to you approach. I think you approach situations with empathy, and almost try to one of the books I'm reading at the moment talks about empathetic listening, and basically talks about you pretty much parrot what someone's saying to you. So if someone's having a conversation with you and they're coming to you with a problem, 9 times out of 10 they don't want a solution to that problem because they know the solution. Deep down inside, when you've got a situation going on, if you've got to say pull your finger out and work every weekend for the next year to earn enough money to be able to do what you need to do, you've got to do that, but you need to kind of someone just to be there to listen to you moan and groan that you've got to do that. So empathetic listening is basically a technique of when someone comes to you and says, oh, I'm so I've got no money to be able to afford this mortgage, I'm gonna have to start working on the weekends, and you just go, oh, so because you don't have a lot of money, then is that why you're gonna have to work on the weekends? And you basically, all I've done there is repeat what they've said with a really nice tone and ask them a question. Ask them the question that they've just basically said in a statement to me. Because what that does is it makes them think about what's going on. So it makes them actually understand, oh, this is what I've said. Is that what I mean? And doing that with people is the only way I've ever seemed to work out to get someone to stop making excuses. Because you can then turn around to them when they say to you, oh, I couldn't do legs today because I went on a run yesterday. It's oh, so because you went on a run, you couldn't do, you wouldn't be able to get through that leg session today. Oh no, I just don't think I'd be able to go as heavy. Okay, so you may not be able to go as heavy, but do you think you could have done it with a bit less weight? Oh yeah, it might have been. And it starts to actually get them going from a place of I can't do something to opening and changing their situation. And if you are trying to speak to a family member or a friend who constantly makes excuses, empathetic listening, research it, look it up, is a really good way to do it. At the same time, if you're an individual right now, listening to this and thinking, oh, am I someone who makes excuses? You need to pull your fucking socks up.
Yeah, I think that's it. Don't know. This has just been I've had a bit of bee in my bonnet over this for a couple of weeks now.
How did people then get strong without things like CBD and massage guns? What was it when you first started training?
Yeah.
When you went into the gym,
yeah.
What was it like for you?
Mate, I literally used to go to this Spit and Sawdust gym, which I am so good at its clothes. I loved that place, man. And it was full of just massive blokes. And they just it was grunting and groaning and heavy dumbbells. You just went in and nobody was there oh, just doing 5 reps in reserve. Nah, I'm having it.
Yeah.
On every set. And then I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to do it again. Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I got DOMs, but I'm going to do it again.
It's a different mentality.
And it's kind of people have got broken ankles. They're on crutches, benching, and just it don't matter.
Yeah.
There's blokes who they turn up in work boots and their gear because they're literally just done a full day working on site somewhere, lugging bricks around or whatever, and then they just come in the gym. Whereas now you've got people who are hairdressers. They're can't train legs on my feet 8 hours a day. Okay. good luck with your results.
I'm just gonna say it. I'm blaming Gymshark for all of this because I think Gymshark's invited a lot of fucking wet wipes into the fitness industry. Like,
because do they do like skinny trousers?
No, well, like
maybe that's what it is.
The reason I say that is you go to a commercial gym, right? Because like there's a clear difference between a spit and sawdust gym or just like independent gyms and commercial gyms. Like if you're someone who goes to a gym and you go to an independent gym, walk back into a commercial gym and see how weird it feels. Yeah. Like there's a massive difference there. And Gymshark is like Pure Gym's the gym that you pay fucking £6.50 for a month or whatever it is to go and like use the one squat rack. It's full of assholes in Gymshark with no idea what they're doing, trying to look good. And it's like, and judging everyone else who's in there. Whereas you go to like a spit and sawdust gym, no one gives a fuck what you're doing because they're too busy concentrating on what they're doing.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. It's just people don't want to work hard anymore. Like it's not, so we've recently got a membership with David Lloyd. Just because it's up the road, there's a swimming pool and a play area. So
someone's doing well for themselves.
We've basically got a membership at David Lloyd so we can take Kobe swimming. And
sit on the nice comfy chairs.
Yeah. So I went there the other day.
Have you trained there yet?
I haven't trained, no. But I've been had a look around, and the last 2 days, like this morning and yesterday, I did some work there. I took my laptop up there, sat in like the adults only room, quiet, just headphones in, did some work.
What's the adults only room? Has it got like special magazines that you can?
Yeah. No, I think it's just like kids aren't allowed.
Oh right. Oh sorry.
You can't.
Different adults.
You can't talk. Yeah, different adults. But so I was working, whatever, and then just like, I went to the toilet. So I went to the toilet, went to wash my hands after, and I was sat there washing my hands, and I'm not even joking. This guy comes in next to me, he wasn't washing his hands. He literally looked in the mirror and was like sorting his hair out, and he was about to go and train. Yeah. Like, and he had this outfit on. He had like some leggings with some shorts over the top, and like a t-shirt with a vest over the top. I'm just like, mate,
why are you here?
What are you like? What are you doing?
I've got no problem in people trying to look good, but like, why are you going to train?
Do you know what I mean?
Like, why are you genuinely going to train? Like, those hours that you train always baffles me when people wear makeup when they train. Like, if you've come from work or whatever, fair enough, but like, yeah, that's fine, carry on. For me, there's nothing wrong with going to a gym and like wanting to look good and training like however you want to, but just be really conscious of the place you're in. Like I was in the gym yesterday and there was a kiddie who's like, I want to say he was like 14, but to be honest with you, I'm really dreadful at guessing people's ages, so he could have been older. He looked about 14, 16, somewhere like that. And he was training and he was on the preacher curl and he just kind of looked a little bit clueless. So I went over and gave him some advice, gave him some help, kind of said to him like, oh, make sure you kind of jam your armpit into this preacher curl when you're doing it. And like people that genuinely don't know go into the gym, like it makes sense for them to kind of just go in and like look a bit lost and do stuff like that and want to look good, because a lot of times we go to these gyms and it can be quite a daunting environment, and I really do understand that. Like I if you get social anxiety, like it can be really difficult to put yourself in a social situation which is full of people that you don't know, full of kind of people that you think are going to judge you. Like the one thing that I would say is if you're going into one of these commercial gyms and you think that the people around you are going to judge you for what you're doing, I can guarantee you that no one in that gym knows anything they are currently doing. Like anyone in that gym that you're currently in, like they may all look like they know what they're doing because they're wearing the right gear and they got their headphones on, but like no one does. So like commercial gyms are not like, they're not an environment to be intimidated by for fear that you're going to look stupid doing the wrong thing. Like this is the prime reason for getting a personal trainer, is if you are afraid to go in and look silly using equipment and you don't know what you're doing, and that's going to be the biggest off-putting thing. Like that is why investing in a personal trainer, yes, it's an expensive investment at the start, but like you take investments in a monetary term, like if you invest into stocks, into fucking Bitcoin at the moment or whatever it is, like there's a cost straight away which you pay, and in the future you expect a bigger return. And it's the same with personal trainers and investing in your fitness career like that. Like you can invest in a personal trainer, and what that does for you is, yes, is money now, but you actually learn skills, you learn knowledge that when you go and train on your own in the future, like you're saving money because you're not just coming in and standing on a fucking treadmill for like an hour. You're actually coming in and you're doing something beneficial. Like I was just saying, I don't think that people should be afraid going into commercial gyms, and like, because I think that's a lot of the reason why people want to look good. Do you know what I mean? Because they're afraid to be embarrassed.
I think it's an intimidating environment because it's kind of like, oh, have I got the right outfit on to go here?
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? But it's just like, nah, I can't wait to go train at David Lloyd in like old clothes,
literally,
and outlift everybody.
But that's so I like when I go into David Lloyd and train myself, and I got like a t-shirt which I cut into a vest.
Yeah,
and like I don't look like I should be there.
No,
they don't allow chalk. David Lloyd don't allow chalk.
I maybe kind of get that. I do kind of get that a little bit, but like. But it's still, like, you can still train hard without chalk.
Yeah. Well, there's another reason for people not training, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. Nobody... Yeah. My whole point of this podcast was, like, nobody wants to train hard anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, training hard is, like... It's not cool, man. Nobody's like, I just want to go to this like really dark place. Like, I just want to have this really hard session. Like, nobody wants to do that anymore. And everyone's got like this excuse for why they can't do that anymore. Whether it's, oh, my heart rate data says I can't. Like, my Whoop strap says I can't. I haven't got my mouthpiece. If I go too hard, I'll have to breathe through my mouth. Like, you know, it'll stop me from nasal breathing. And like
that one's jokes.
But it's just like. I don't know, like, just go to the gym, train really hard, and just, like, see what happens. Because, like, good stuff will happen.
Hard work is probably the biggest trait to get you anything that you want in your life. My example of this is a guy at the gym a guy at one of the other gyms I train at. He's called Big Tone. Massive guy, like giant arms, and he's a binman. He ain't got a clue, and I mean, like, he genuinely doesn't have a clue about training in the sense of like doesn't know any of the science. But he spent so much time training that he knows what fucking works, and what work is hard work. Like when he's stood above you when you're doing incline bench, and he's upright rowing that like 60 kgs you got on a bar, and your just hands are going for a ride. Like, this guy knows hard work. No, he doesn't know the science that goes into it, but like that's why the knowledge is dangerous. Like, yes, work smart, work fucking hard.
Yeah, I think that's it. You know, everyone has access to all of this science now, and people are kind of starting to understand little bits of it. And like you just said, like, a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. You've got these people who really, really understand it, and then when they go to the gym, they just like properly have it still, and they get results. You get these people who understand it a little bit, and they're kind of like, they unwrap the barbell of their squat and just like, I'm not going to squat this. My big toes 3 millimeters out of my stance.
That happens though. Like, I think a little bit of knowledge is dangerous, but I mean, I just can't help thinking that, like, when you look at people that are elite sportsmen, and they've got these, like, what are the fucking, is it like the water cooling legs things? What are they? Have you seen them?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I can't think what they're called now.
But they got these, like,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
And like, I understand that people kind of use. It's like, and it's people that talk about ice baths. Like, oh yeah, like, so I'm going to have an ice bath after I train. It's like, do you know why you're doing that?
Have you trained it hard enough to need one?
Why are you doing that? Are you in the middle of a really intense season, or do you play Sunday league football?
Yeah.
Like, which is it?
Yeah. Obviously, like, we're not here to say recovery is not important. We know how important recovery is. and we know how useful some of this data is. But I think if you are, so sit down with yourself and ask yourself some honest questions. Like, if you are somebody who's like, I probably could be working harder, chances are you probably could be working a lot harder.
I mean, take what we've just done for our members down at Argent Athletic. We've just implemented a recovery week every 6 weeks. And there, for me, like, it seems to be two reasons for this. Is luckily our members will just have it.
Yeah, they do train hard, man.
Our members will just come in and train like animals. And like, some people obviously are on the kind of bottom end of that. Some people are on the top end of that. But most of them, like, when you ask them to, they'll train hard. But the problem is with that is because everyone's training hard, we need to put a recovery week just to pull them back. And like, having a recovery week every 6 weeks means that the 5 weeks that there isn't a recovery week, they can fucking have it. And like, it gives you that ability. So yes, have recovery weeks, have times when you recover, but for the rest of the time, like, you can go hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, recovery is important. Recovery weeks, deload weeks are important. They should be in your training. Like, it's a good, solid principle of training. But like Charlie said earlier, like, work smart, but work harder. And I think that's the key.
What is, I'm just searching the nasal breathing while running thing, because it's really in my head and I can't get over it. Like, what is it? Why is it a thing?
So
do you know what it's about?
Yeah.
Go on.
So there's a couple of different reasons, but some of the most popular ones that people are doing it for and talking about is kind of like, it helps increase or maintain hydration levels, because when you breathe through your mouth, like, the air is more dry.
Right.
So when you breathe through your nose, like, it's less dry. And secondly, it helps increase nitric oxide levels, which essentially allows an increase in blood flow because blood vessels open more, and therefore you must have taken a pre-workout. It's got nitric oxide in, like, and you just like get proper vasculated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does those. They're like the big key things that people are kind of talking about.
There was probably, you were probably in like, when the people started using like those fucking altitude masks.
Yeah, mate. I was
I
like,
bet you were like right in that.
I was right in the middle of
What
that.
was that about?
Yeah.
People that run inconsistently wearing one of those. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and you could get like, at the time, you could get like a covering for it, like a mask for this mask. So like, you could look like Bane or Batman, like, and just like go to the gym and do your bicep curls. You know.
But would you see people like lifting with one of those on?
Yeah, mate.
Would
it's
you?
Like, oh, it makes it harder, doesn't it? Because, so this is the thing, right? It's like, oh, it makes it harder, so it it's better, but it doesn't. Making something hard is like a perception. Like, so different levels of difficulty is like a perception for people. So, and I talk about this in some of our PT courses. It's kind of like, intensity is king. Like, training at a higher intensity is going to drive like real incredible results. Now, obviously, if you're talking like ultra distance, long marathons, Ironman, that kind of stuff, as Charlie said earlier, like, there's this 80-20 rule where 80% of what you do is done at an easier pace, but the 20% of what you do is done at high intensity work, and that is then like high intensity work. But like, intensity is king, so you have to be training and you have to be pushing limits of intensity. So if you're then using kind of apparatus to perform exercise, and in your mind it is more difficult, as an example, wearing a mask, you are believing that the intensity is higher, but the intensity is lower. So if you went out and said, right, you're going to run 1,000 meters as fast as you possibly can without this mask on, and we're going to time it, and then you'll have 48 hours recovery. So 48 hours later, you're going to run 1,000 meters with the mask on, and we'll time it. I guarantee you will run faster without the mask. So therefore, your intensity is higher. But you will think the intensity is higher when you've got the mask on because it feels harder.
Yeah. Working hard does not necessarily... This is why I always say, like, just because you do not finish a session sweating does not mean you have not worked hard. Like, does not mean that. Like, hard work isn't a feeling. Do you know, it is in a certain extent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. What do you think about people who use boxing for cardio? Because this makes me piss myself. When I see people who have no like martial arts or boxing background, no sport in background like that, and they're doing a circuit and they box in it, and I'm like, why are you doing that? They're like, because it's hard.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I think if you can box, then like, great.
But why?
Do you know what I mean?
Like, surely that, like, it's not that it's wrong, and if you enjoy it, do it. Because, like we've said in every single episode, like, whatever you enjoy is the best way to do it. And
There's
like,
probably better things you could be doing, is what you're saying.
what I'm saying is, there's probably better things you could do for cardiovascular wise. And like, again, like, if you're butthurt by what I've just said or any of this, like, you need to take a step back and have a list and have a real talk with yourself and become a little bit more self-aware. Because one of the biggest pitfalls of people is blaming other people or blaming other things, which is exactly what this podcast is all about. Like,
yeah. And it's kind of like I see people do high intensity interval training circuits and they're putting exercises in that's so complex
yeah,
that like the amount of skill, balance and coordination it takes to execute those exercises, there is no way you can do it at a high intensity level because of how complex the exercise is. Like if you want to do high intensity work, like you just need to be on something that requires low skill. Like go and run up a hill. Go and pull the rope, try and break a rowing machine. Like, you know, don't do like, I don't know, single leg, curtsy, reverse lunge, box step up, burpee, stand on one hand with your eyes closed, like in your Gymshark gear. Just go deadlift, man.
I think one of the this, I guess, coming away from this is the biggest thing you could think about is work hard and really have a good look at if you're someone who makes excuses, and like really start to take things, like take this conversation on the chin. Like, again, if you're butthurt from this, like you need to. There was a story from one of the prisoners of war. I think he was like a prisoner. He was an American guy, prisoner to like Japanese, and they were paired up, and they would like be put in these kind of like cages or whatever with like their buddy, and their role was that whatever annoyed you was your own thing that you had to deal with. So like if you're the guy who you're with hummed, for example, or whistled, like that could probably get annoying if you're in this cage with him for 12 hours. But like you have to take that onto yourself and go like that's my problem, that is annoying me. It's helping him, let him carry on. And like if any of this conversation has got you feeling annoyed, like work out what part of that you have to play, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is very rarely the problem. The problem is usually your response to the problem.
9 times out of 10. I gotta leave you. Is there anything else you want to say about nasal breathing, whoop bands, massage guns, CBD, mouth guards?
Like, if the reason you are not training hard is because your whoop band told you can't, and you ran out of CBD the night before, and you forgot your mouth guard, and you left your Theragun has run out of battery, and what's another one?
You got a cold, so you can't nasal breathe.
You got a cold, so you can't nasal breathe. Like, just get on with it and do your session.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you with one story which I witnessed the other week, which we will kind of hopefully put into perspective, like the excuses that you're making in your own training. Is I was at the gym, and there was a guy on a lat pull down, and this guy'd like just finished work, and he like come in from work. He's in like his fucking like ground working gear. He's got like a massive orange kind of high vis jacket on or whatever, and he's on the lat pull down, and he's like a massive bloke. So he's like 6'6". I reckon he weighs like a good 25, 26 stones. So this bloke's huge, like not necessarily muscly, but like fat, muscly, whatever. He's a massive guy, and he's being spotted by a girl who's recovered from anorexia. Now, those two people have it in the gym. Really do have it in the gym. And if that doesn't like show you that this guy's working his ass off, being spotted by a girl who also works her ass off, who's recovered from anorexia, like the excuses that you have, are they even Do they even need to be on the same fucking page as that? You've got a guy who's just finished work, who's been like ground working all day, out in the rain, out in the cold, working his ass off, and you've got a girl who's like battling back from anorexia, still coming to the gym, putting her all in. But like, you ran out of pre-workout, so you can't train today. Like, and we'll leave you with that.
Have a word with yourself.
Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. Yeah, I told you it was going to be a fun one. I guess I kind of want to like reiterate points. Is that I'm not saying I'm not saying you can't be afraid to go to the gym. I'm not saying it's not a daunting place. It definitely is. The gym is definitely a daunting place, especially if you don't know what you're doing. But this is why I want to like highlight the point that getting a personal trainer and getting a coach, it's not a good reason for like if you want to be an athlete. Like it is if you obviously want to kind of go somewhere within your kind of fitness career. But if you just want to build enough confidence, which means that when you do go to the gym, you're not so scared that you're doing things wrong. Like that's the main reason why I'd say people need to go to the gym, like, or need to get a personal trainer, It's purely just to build confidence in that when you do go to the gym, you know what you're doing and you don't look stupid. Like that is a big fear for a lot of people. And I get that. I really do get that. But if you are at a place where you do know what you're doing and you are really in depth with the science and you're like, oh, well, I'm following this new training method, which is going to get me like 0.3% more muscle, like great. But how much could you get if you actually just worked a little bit harder during the times you do have to work? Again, recovery weeks are important, probably more important than people think. But having a structured plan, and I guess having a structured plan and carrying it out in a way which is like with a lot of passion and hard work is going to get you the best results. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you do want to get in touch, give us abuse, ask any questions or complain, please send an email to info@realcoachingradio.co.uk. If you're interested in joining the coaching world and enhancing your education, please head to www.myptcourse.com. There are level 2, level 3 and level 4 courses that will get you started in your fitness career. Thank you once again for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio.